Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Information Architecture, Wednesday, midweek. I hope your week is good. This is the last week in February, so March is coming, and then next week is last week for this class. I know this is a very busy class. It went very, very fast, so we are in week 6. And I know there are a lot of assignments, but I'm up to date on marking the assignments, so pretty happy with that. I hope you find the feedback valuable. I do spend time to assignment and providing as much feedback as I can. But I would say that the quality of the work is pretty good. I'm pretty happy. I can see that you're learning, and at each time it gets better and better. So, which is good. And I don't know if you had a chance to. Thank you, Nelly. I don't know if you've had a chance for to listen to the video from yesterday's class. I think maybe I had about half an hour where I give some more details about what I have found, what I have seen in the assignment about the navigation as well, the information architecture and the navigation, and then to help you with the assignment that is due for today as well for the zoo navigation, which I'm very confident you will do well. But I was really happy as well to see the debrief for those of you, and I would say most of you have all done a debrief for the exercise of the IA as well, and then explaining the process and the things that you've noticed that you have to adapt. For example, labels and maybe the number of categories and the groupings, and you have to make some changes to even adapt the navigation. Really happy. That really shows that you are doing the work, you're taking this very seriously, and that will make you very strong information architecture. And I'm also happy that you're using the bubble, as well as a quick reference to where to begin. And some of you have said it was hard to know where to begin when we were looking at the eye or the navigation. And the bubble, I would say, is your reference point, your business, and your user goal as well. So all very well done. Okay, so for today's plan, today is the last piece of content for this class, and we are going to talk about flows, task, and user flows. You may think, well, how is it similar? How is it different? You will know about this. You will learn about the task and the user flows. My question to you is, would you prefer to have the lecture today for flows, task and flows, or would you prefer to have that time to work with your team on the final deliverable today? And I don't know how many have submitted yet. I haven't seen how many, or if anybody has submitted the assignment for today for navigation for the zoo. I'm flexible. We could very well choose to talk about tasks and flows tomorrow as our last topic, and then the following sessions will be about working on assignment for user flow and also the big project. Speaking of the big project, if you haven't read the big project, if you haven't started the big project, I really encourage you to do, because you will have to do for Roots Canada everything that you've done in this class, from cart sorting, well, understanding the business and what the business is trying to do, and then doing a cart sorting with people outside of the class, outside of the program, and then doing doing the navigation, and also doing sketches or wireframes, whatever you're more comfortable with. So it's a big project. I would really highly encourage that you begin if you haven't. So what would you like to do today? Do you want to talk about task and flows, or do you want this time to actually think through even the project or think through the assignment for today? And then tomorrow we could talk about task and flow. Okay, so far. Okay, good. Okay, so far, task and flow. Okay, great. So we'll do the lecture then. Sorry, but have to be fast. Awesome. Okay, so let me share the, yes, I know there are overlapping classes. And so I'm going to pull the today's session. Great. Okay, are there any questions before we jump into flows? Are there any questions about anything, any content that we've covered? Or is there anything that you'd like to share with your you're learning in the program or going through the assignment or going through the zoo or Nightwood. I think the zoo is a fun project. Are there anything that you guys want to share with anybody as well? At some point, I was wondering if you would even be curious to see what other teams have come up with for the zoo. It's actually, I'm lucky because I get to see all of uh, the information architecture that every team has come up with. Things that are common, but are things that are very different too. So it's there's no one IA, right? There's not one information architecture, but there are similarities. But if at some point the team feels that they'd like to see what the others team have done, then maybe we could take some minutes at some point before the end of this class session or course, and we could maybe see what others have done. That could be a fun thing to see. But I can tell you there are a lot of similarities as well, and it's getting better and better. Much refined and better with each assignment. So the zoo would be really happy to see some of the work. And in fact, we have a student in class that has a friend who works for the zoo. And then I suggested to her that she may want to talk to her friend and see if she's interested in seeing some of the work, but it's very good work. Anyhow, that said, I'm really positive and very excited about the Roots project and what you will come up with. And as I mentioned, Root is a project that I'm actually teaching and working with another class, which I know they will benefit from the work too. So I intentionally pick this Roots because I think it's a real project and they will benefit from what you will do, and it will help the classes and it will help the Roots as a business, and everybody will win and everybody will be really happy, and it's more tangible than just coming up and picking anything out there. Okay, great. So let's talk about today's lecture then. So we're going to talk about task and user flows. So the task and user flows is it's another level of details that you will have to think about. Now, there is an assignment for task and user flow, which is due next week, and it's 25% of your mark, where the final project is 30%. So I did not decide on the breakdown of the assignment. When I was asked to teach a class, then the assignment and the breakdown was already done, and I had no flexibility. So to be honest with you, 25% is a higher percentage for something like task and user flows versus the big project, the big final project. And I'm aware of that very well. I'm confident if you do well, if you follow the instruction, you will do well. For the assignment, it's 25%. So I would take it as a not too difficult 25%. Way of being evaluating and then earning your 25% if you follow well and if you do the assignment correctly, consistently as well. So, but it's 25% of your mark. The final project is 30%. So, and this is due for next week as well. So we are going to talk about task and use different and how they're similar in their purpose, but now it's just going to another level of details. More detail of, let's say, the zoo or the Nightwood. So we will not apply task and user flow as in the assignment to the zoo or Nightwood, which is very different because we've been doing Nightwood and the zoo since day one. But you will have the choice to detail a user flow for Freshly, which is a grocery store, or or Ticketmaster to buy a concert on Ticketmaster. You will have to detail the user flow. So it's really straightforward. You will see it will be just a matter of picking a template for you and a legend of illustrating the user flow, which is the existing, and you're just describing something existing as well. But you could play and you could do something very similar to build your zoo, a specific flow in a zoo. But you do need to do task and user flow before you design. And then when you do your design, then you do your user flow. We'll be talking about today. Okay, so I'm just reading, I'm seeing some of the chat. Okay, so I just want to make sure that it's something we need to cover now. Thank you, Jeff. Very, very appreciate it about your feedback. And what I love about this class, you guys are really taking in the feedback and you're applying the feedback. So this is how every time the assignments are getting better. And yes, there are a lot of teamwork. So in terms of prototyping and sketching, again, I'm using assignments from previous teacher and previous classes, and some of you may be more advanced in prototyping and not so advanced. So what I have discovered is for some of you, doing the prototype was new, and I don't want the technology to get in the way of your learning. I think it's good to learn prototyping and how to do prototyping, but I'm definitely more interested about the content, the meat when it comes to the information architecture and the navigation. Do you understand the navigation? Are you aware of the limitation? Are you aware of you have to make choices? And I'm okay to see it in a sketch. If for you it's easier to communicate what you want to communicate wireframe without having anything that is clickable, without having anything that works like it would on the prototype, but you are able to show me the screen and explain to me the behavior through annotation, that is completely acceptable too. And I've made a change, I believe, to the assignment that is due today, so that you can do either sketch, you can do wireframing, but you have to explain to me the behavior. So I cannot just have screen and try to guess what the behavior will be around the navigation, particularly if you do a rollover or if you have to click and then to reveal level 2 and then what happened to level 3 and then what happened to level 4. You need to explain to me how the flow works for your navigation. But if you want to use sketch, if you want to use wireframe, it's all good with me as well. So I don't want you to get caught up in the prototyping and not be able to have the time to make sure that everything that I ask is there. And that would be footer navigation. And that will be the mobile responsive version. So listen to the video from yesterday, because I give a lot of tips on what was missing on the assignment. So I was a little bit more conservative in my marking for the satisfactory and unsatisfactory, but a lot of you did not give me a mobile responsive, or there was no footer nav, for example. Or some of you did not give me a brief for the unsatisfactory or satisfactory. But now I'm becoming a bit more picky on making sure all the elements are there. So make sure nothing is missing. And if it means you do a sketch or wireframe, then I prefer than you trying to do a prototype and not being able to do it. Okay, so I see some comments about prototyping. You guys can help each other. Definitely, I love it. I don't do the prototyping using XD. It's been a while I've done prototyping. I would like to if I say I've done prototyping, but wireframes I'm very comfortable with, and the flows and then the eyes. But I was fortunate I had developer or I had someone on my team doing it for me. Okay, so let's move on to the topic. So the task and the user flow is the next level of details now that you are. Now we went from IA information architecture. Let's see, we've designed the IA for the zoo, and then some of you have a level 1 called tickets. Then you have level 2 and level 3 for that specific section. So task and user flow is actually now thinking about a specific experience. Think of it as an experience or a micro journey in your website. So you would take, let's say, buying tickets. And then you want to think about what will be the task in the user flow for a specific experience, a specific journey. And then you will have as many as tasks as user flow as you may have experiences. And if you remember when we started this class with you, I said, I think we don't get to build a lot of new website nowadays. We are about optimizing an existing website. Rarely, I think we build from scratch, because a lot of businesses have been online for quite a bit. Now they want to make it better and improve it at them. A micro journey within the website. So for Nightwood and Zoo, we're rethinking of complete redesign. But maybe the zoo could have actually just approached you and say, we want to replace or change our buying tickets experience because we're noticing that people are abandoning during the flow. And we've learned that this is one of the reasons, and we'd like to completely revamp it. So you would really be going down deep into buying tickets. And you would start from the user goal of how do user go about buying a ticket. So when I think of buying a theater ticket, I may actually not even think of Nightwood. I may just think of I have, my afternoon is free, and this is before COVID or post COVID. My Saturday matinee afternoon is free, and I feel like going to theater with a friend. This is where really my user goal will start. My journey will begin, and I may actually begin on Google, and I may just go matinee or theater, theater near me Saturday. What is playing near me, and then I will actually really land to. I will see maybe Nightwood. Maybe I will see any other theater that are in my area, and I will see maybe a show that I might have heard of, and then I will click on, and then I will end up to a specific landing page on the side, and then I will make choices of exploring further, and maybe buying, and maybe up to giving my credit card, and then getting my tickets, and then have a choice of e-tickets or printing them if I want, if I'm still paper, and then or pick the tickets at the booths, at the theater, and then go to the show and see the show. So obviously there are many subtasks within all of this. So that is task and that is user flow. Now you may be thinking, what is task and what is user flow? And this is what we will be covering as well. So what are task and what are user flow is really our last topic. So the user task flows will inform good design. So we've been thinking of the bubble, right? We've been thinking about what is the bubble for our information architecture. Now we still have a user. So if we think of the micro journey of buying tickets, then the business goal, this is very highly aligned with the business goal of selling tickets. This is how they make money, right? So they make money by donation so that they can have a theater, and they make money by people actually coming to watch the show. So it's a high revenue generating micro journey. It is a journey that you want to have. You want it to be very well designed, aligned with the user, aligned with the mental model, or aligned with the user in the step that a user would probably typically would expect or would want to follow, and align with what they've seen and what they've learned from the internet in the past. So you have to think, and that will inform you about your design. So at this point, and this is true, we don't have a design for the zoo, or we don't have a design for Nightwood, right? So we are, once your navigation, you've been thinking about your navigation, which is the assignment for today, then I would say your next step will be to do wireframes. And then the user task flow will actually give you a sense of how many wireframes or how many pages do I need to design the ticketing, the buying tickets journey. So now you're really going to the next level, which is what will tickets behave? What will tickets look like from a user point of view, from the moment that they click on it, what they will see. So you're already thinking about this for your navigation, but we have said, don't design anything inside your page. Don't show anything about your page, but the task flow will inform you. The task flow is now the step to guide you to a page. So I try to outline to you the sequence of what happens. So the user goal is the bubble. So we have a user goal. The user goal is to buy tickets. At Nightwood, maybe another user goal at Nightwood is to make a donation, or maybe see if they have corporate events. So we've all been talking about this. Now we're going down into one. So you want to start first with the task flow. You kind of want to outline what you think the task flow is for someone who actually wants to buy a ticket, for Nightwood or buy a zoo ticket. You have to think of the task flow usually outside of the platform. So what do I mean by this? You should think of a task flow that is not web specific or not mobile specific, not digital specific, but you should try to describe your task flow in words and what people actually, you think that people, the sequence of actions, or what people will normally do. So you can also think, let's say another example of a task flow will be wanting to buy bread. I need bread. I need to buy bread, and I'm actually going to go to the store near to me. So you could actually list the task flow of buying bread. I'm going to put my shoes on. I'm going to put my jacket on. You could decide where do you want that journey to start, or will the journey start from the moment that you actually open the door? I have a Loblaws at 2 blocks away from me. Then I could see my journey is going to start when I actually get to Loblaws. So I'm at Loblaws and I open the door. Then what am I going to do? I'm actually going to be looking for the place or the area where I can actually see my bread. Then I'm going to go and look for a specific type of bread, maybe that I like to eat. Or maybe I don't really care. Maybe they're not going to have the brand, but I'll be open to have a new brand. Then I'm going to take the bread. I'm probably going to maybe buy something else, or I'm really just going to go to the checkout. Now, I go to a machine. I do my self checkout. I pay with my phone, my iPhone, and I usually, depending on how many items, then I'll have a bag or I'll have no bags. In this case, I'm just going to take my bread. Then I'm going to take my receipt and I'm going to walk out. And I'm out of Loblaws. I'm done. So I don't think necessarily of a specific platform. Now here you may say, well, you're at Loblaws, you're thinking Loblaws. But why am I saying don't think of online and don't think of what you would do on the internet is that I don't want you to use specific words, and I will show you an example of that. I really want you to think about what we user normally do outside of digital or even outside of the website, so that we actually copy that over so that it's similar to what they would normally do. It will feel familiar, but then now we know that they are buying things online and they're shopping online, and how do we make that familiar with what they might have seen in other places? And this is maybe where you have your cart, this is where you have your checkout, something that says checkout, something that maybe says aisle. So you're going to be looking for aisle, then you're going to be looking for bread, then you're going to be maybe you're going to be able to search, maybe you're going to be able to browse. So these things, but I don't want you to use these terms yet. It's too early when you think of the task flow. I want you to think about how user would do it in normal life outside of the internet. Then once we know what the task flow is for ticketing or buying tickets for Zoo, so, and you could very well do that. We could say, how would someone go about buying a ticket at the zoo? And then you would say, you would list that, and then you're done. You have a good of a bit sequence will be for someone who wants to buy tickets. Then you can start thinking about page and experience design and your wireframes. You may have 8 steps. Maybe 8 steps mean 8 pages. We don't know yet. But it will already give you a bit of a sense of how many pages or how many templates or wireframes maybe I'm going to need to design. So this is where your job also starts, from a visual and from a design. And then you are going to start doing wireframing. And I don't know if in some businesses, I will not do wireframes, or I will do the wireframes, or it's going to be an interaction design who's going to do wireframe, or you guys work together. I would say at the end of the day, if it's not you who does it, you still keeping the bubble alive and making sure that the bubble is continuing and following through until it's implemented. Which the interaction designer may not have access to all of that information that you've had because you've done all this work. You've done the cart sorting, you've done the you spent a lot of time on mapping, refining it, making it better. You've been thinking about your navigation. You've probably been speaking navigation with the interaction designer too. But at the end of the day, you'll have to make sure that the bubble is being kept. And then at this point, you can start thinking about what the user flow will be. So now you're becoming a little bit more, obviously you're becoming more specific about an online experience. You're thinking of a digital experience, you're thinking of maybe a mobile app experience, maybe you're thinking of a kiosk as well. But you're taking what you would expect from the task flow, how someone would actually buy a piece of bread, and try to see how do I make that coming to life on digital, by trying to follow a sequence that will make sense to a user who maybe knows about a specific brand, not a specific brand, and give a sequence of steps that will actually feel that. For example, if you were to ask the flow of buying a piece of bread for a online site, Freshly or online or Metro, and suddenly you want them to give you a credit card before they even have picked an item, well, that would be very awkward, and that would not be a way that they would expect it. Maybe that's exaggerated, but where I'm sure you all have examples of at times where you've seen experiences that they've actually introduced a step that just doesn't make sense, or a step that the consumer may actually not even know what he's expected to do or what he's expected to pick at that point because it's too early as well. So there are tons of examples like this. And how does this happen where suddenly there's a step that doesn't mimic? It's because someone hasn't thought of it as a task and as a flow in a sequence. And they probably rushed out and went very fast and wanted to build design. And I think I share some of those examples with you on Sunwing, for example, of contact us, trying to place a complaint. We asking the customer questions that they don't know what the answer is, and was the if they were eligible or not under the specific Canadian regulation airline law, which most people probably don't even know. I just know as a user that my flight was delayed and I want to get a refund. But you're asking me to tell you if this is eligible to the specific law or regulations, or if it was mechanical or not mechanical, or planned or not planned. I don't know and I don't care. But Sunwing is actually asking the consumer to tell them. But I would say most customers probably don't even know. So it's not part of the task flow. And plus they don't care. And do they need? No, they don't. But some businesses will do that. They will put in front of you a step that people have no clue. So this is not any different than knowing the user. And is the user able to even answer that specific question? And I think that often the answer is yes, or the often is no when you feel that it's not natural to the flow that you would follow. Then the user flow will be on the platform. So this is where you're obviously designing your wireframes, and now you're talking in terms of browsing or searching, next, continue, cancel, and then see the steps that you're in, make a payment, put your credit card, put your CVV, like all of this information that will become very, very specific. And then review your purchase, and then finalize and submit your purchase, or you can still cancel your purchase if you want. And we know that most people online for cancel, they're just going to get out of that flow. They're just going to go back to the home button and they're just going to exit it. And then they probably get a message that will say your cart will be saved, come back later, add your cart, add to your cart as well. So all of these are part of the user flow. After we had a sense of what the flow, the task flow should be for that user to be able to do this. So that was one example. Another example that you can think of a user goal or user flow is if you want to make a donation. So let's think about the task flow of user goal making a donation. So without looking at any web, or don't think of the website, what would be some of the natural in real life if you wanted to think of the task flow for making a donation? So let's say Jeff wants to make a donation. Jeff has $100 he wants to make a donation. What could be some of the steps or task flow of, yes, perfect. Yeah, exactly. So I have $100, I want to make a donation. So Anshal said, find an organization. So yeah, so she said, I'm going to start very high. I'm going to be very, very high. I'm actually going to start, if I think of the funnel, Anshal is kind of starting here. She's like, who do I want? Jeff has $100. He wants to give $100. Then he's going to search for an organization. Then maybe he's going to pick an organization, right? He's going to go down, and then he's going to look at, I don't know. So how an organization at Anshal? So what would be maybe some of the criteria you would be looking at? A cause? Okay, United Way. So yeah, so now Jeff says United Way. And then what do you think would be your next step in terms of United Way? So now we have $100, we have United Way, and then what do you think would happen? So what would be your next logical thing that you would want to do with them? Okay, yeah, you would go to their website, and then you would look for where you can do a donation. And then what's next? Yes. So at this point, we're starting to touch user flow, and I will tell you why. Because we're touching the platform. But Jeff could have said, I'm going to go to online, or I'm going to call them, and I'm going to give them probably a credit card, and then I'm done. So, but Jeff could said, I would call, I will chat, I will go to their website, and I would say this is the task flow could actually end at that point. You pick a donation, you pick a cause, you've called, you went online, but you don't need to detail the online process at that point. That will come with the user flow. And then you will, and then you make a payment, that's it. And then you'll get a receipt so you can do your income tax. So that donation flow, task flow, can actually be broken down in several aspects as well. So Anshul said, picking a cause has different set of questions as a user. And again, I'm not online. I'm picking a cause because I believe maybe in a united way. I'm going to talk to friends. I'm going to research online. I'm going to finally pick a cause that is aligned with my beliefs. And then, great, the cause is picked, right? Then I'm probably going to say, I may call them. I may go online. I may send them a check if I want, or am I going to do a transfer payment through Interact maybe, and then on my donation, and I'm done. But I haven't really necessarily detail of online and how I would go about doing it online. And that would be just an example of a user flow. And then we could do the same thing with zoo, right? Donate to the zoo or donate to Nightwood. If you think of it, that process of donate to Nightwood or donate to the zoo or donate to United Way, the task flow is very similar, because I haven't talked in terms of web, online, and the experience and how to do it about online. So yes, so there are many criteria that you would think of, but the key thing is all of this was happening, most of it was happening outside of the platform, so that you're clear on what would be some of the steps that the user actually may want to do. Then when you know that this is the sequence that it would follow and they've decided on United Way, then they've decided on the zoo, then you can design that experience on the zoo, specifically on the zoo. And this is where now you start thinking about how many pages and what the experience will be specifically to the zoo for online, if I want, or the omni-channel, and think about the experience of online, the experience over the phone, the experience of chat as well. So there will be a lot of research, absolutely. There's a lot of research that you would do here, right, for picking a good cause before you even talk about a platform that you will do on your own and at home as well. So you would follow a sequence, a task flow, and you may have different verticals as well aligned to it. So let's see. So we already touched in the deck. So the task flow typically will have a simple single pathway. So I want to make a donation. I pick a cause. I find a cause. Pick a cause. I call the cause. I give them $100. I have an amount I want to give them, and then I make a payment, and I'm done. So it's very linear. It tends to be very linear because it's really, really focused. But it can also be broken down in multiple steps, and I will show you about this. And it's written, this is very important, this is written in the consumer perspective. So you don't talk about system, you don't talk about databases, connectivity, and you don't talk about system. It's from the user point of view. Very, very important. It has to be thought as the user perspective, I say. This is really, really critical, very critical. So it is from the point of view, because remember, you know about the user now. You know the words, even the choice of words that they will use, very, very important, so that you can start now injecting their vocabulary or the labeling into your content and what the wireframes will have and what it will say. So this is a very, very important piece from the user point. And then you just really show the pages. It's not necessarily the pages, yes, more like the steps. I would say the step, because don't go too fast into design. And I would say every time that you think of a micro journey, you should really, really write it down of what you believe the sequence will be for that specific micro journey and user goal. That will give you then a number of steps, number of pages that you might have as well. So you don't need to go to the user action to detail not the user action and decision. It's too early. That you will do on the wireframes. It's really to get a clear sense of what will user do normally outside of my online. You don't have to be very, very specific. They say you don't have to be specific about the entry start and when exit points, but I think you need to have a sense of where do you want to start your task. And if we look at, I think it was Lillian or Anshal said, well, I would start my finding an organization. Some of you may actually start with, I have found the organization. I have decided the zoo. So if you're designing for the zoo, then assume that they've already started from the zoo. That said, though, someone may actually want to come to the zoo and find out more about the zoo and why they should donate, right? But this at that point, they would probably, but maybe you put as a step, zoo, I've heard of the zoo, I want to do the zoo, but I want to learn about the zoo. Then convince me, learn about the zoo, then do donation. That will tell you from where you talk about the zoo and you're about the zoo in about section, you're probably going to have a link there or a call to action that says donate at some point, but you don't show that in the IA. But here now, it could be a step or a sequence that says, when someone wants to make a donation, they probably want to learn about the cause. So first of all is the zoo, and then learn about the zoo, then decide to make a donation, decide of an amount as well, or United Way. The user flow. So the user flow tends to be a little bit more complex because you're gonna have choices, options, and choices. And now you're talking about platform. You're detailing the online experience. You're saying what user will see and what user can do, and the choices that are presented to the user on each of the steps, each of the pages, each of the sequences. You can branch out. Maybe for making a donation is to learn more about the zoo. Then how do I learn more about the zoo? And then when I come back, maybe I want to make a donation. Then maybe there's a branch out of how much money you want to make. A choice of how you want to make your payment, a choice of where you want to make your donation as well. So this is where it gets really, really detailed, and it's the online. You're detailing the online choices and the pathway for a goal that is like making a donation or even buying tickets. So you will, at this point, the user flow, you do the user flow when you have pages. You do the user flow when you have the wireframes. But you can also go from task flow to user flows to help you design the experience and design the wireframes and get everybody aligned on the pages, on the system, and what you can and what you cannot do. So I would say the user flow is really, you can do your first version of a user flow on your own so that you're designing your user flow based on what you know for the task flow, based on what you know for the business, based on what you think will be the ideal experience for a flow like making a donation or buying tickets. But very early on, you're going to need to have someone from developer and someone who knows the technology to be able to say, yes, this can be done, no, this cannot be done. And this is where you're going to have to probably make some compromises. But you don't want to go into compromises too early. Okay, I'm reading some of this for that. It's really be smart to have about us with donate. In the navigation, about your navigation at this point, I would say I don't want you to have to think that you have to redo everything. Remember, in your IA, you don't need to show links between sections, right? So we have about us, we have donation. You don't need to show links that go like this. I would say don't feel a change, don't feel a need to change everything that you have. But if you want, you can, okay? But you don't need to show hyperlinking, links between section, because there will be links between section everywhere. So you can show that your donate lives in a certain places. Maybe you chose that it will live alone, and that's okay. But about us could link to your donate, but you don't show that in your IA. Okay. So this, the user flow then really goes into more of the details. So the assignment for this week in the user flow, as I said, you're gonna go to Freshie or you're gonna go to Ticketmaster. You're gonna pick one of the two sites. You're actually gonna illustrate the user flow for buying a show ticket or placing an order for on Freshly, and then you'll illustrate the user flow. You're gonna pick the legend that you want. You're gonna pick the tool that you want. You can sketch on paper if you want to. I'm okay. You can sketch on paper as long as I can read it. But you can use Miro, you can use Visio, you can use Adobe XD, I'm sure too, but it doesn't have to be a prototype. In fact, I don't need a prototype. I want just a diagram. So your diagram can be a sketch if you want, if you're more comfortable with. But the user flow really go into the details and shows everything that a user can do at that moment for that flow as well. But your challenge is you're going to need to make sure that you don't include everything that is around it. For example, if you're on the micro journey of buying a ticket, a master ticket, tell me that they can also navigate through, other level 1 or other level 2, that they can go to log in, or they can do a search. Like, you want to focus on the experience that you're describing on that specific page in that area as well, but you want to describe what the user can actually do or cannot do. So, are there any questions so far about task, user flow? And now we're going to go in a bit more details, but I'm covering a lot of the material that is meant to be talked about today and then some of the slides will go fast. So the task flow is the actual job. It's the actual thing that the user wants to do to meet their task. So I give you a link to the articles. There are articles this week. So I think we have 2 articles. So the very short read, task analysis and how to improve your UX design task analysis. And for this week, I have a lot of, I've shared with you some books. I have a book for this class. And this is a very old book. I think it's 2002, and it's user task analysis. My collaborator still hear me. This is the story I'm used to, so I'm back now. And I think it's my connection is actually not so good. Can you guys can you guys hear me well? Okay, great. So there are 2 short readings for this week. I've already said for task flow, you should document your task flow before you actually think of your design. So it's platform agnostic, and you should really think about the user, written from a user, and what you think the step would be for someone who wants to buy tickets, or someone who wants to make a donation, or someone who wants to buy. That's with the user goal, to understand the step that they take. It's first described in words. So what I would do before you go into sketching this for your assignment, really go with words. Just put words. So pick a cause, find a cause, pick a cause. You can be detailed. You can detail what pick a cause is, and I will show you how you could do this. But use words. Don't go into diagram yet. It's too early. And then, in an ideal world, your task flow will be done on user research. You would actually really observe that. Why is that? Because people are not good to tell you what they've done. People don't remember. In fact, people forget all the steps that they've taken. And sometimes the one step that is not being included can make a big difference in a micro journey. So very, very important. If you don't know much about the user and you have the opportunity to do observation, if you have an opportunity to go to see users at the airport, how to use your kiosk, or how do you experience your product, and you've done, for those of you, if you've done service design courses, I think you guys cover that as well. Doing field study and ethnography study and following the user, how they do. So we've been talking about website, but let's say you're designing a marketing cloud for marketing specialists that are designing campaign every day. Knowing how they do their job will help you to design a better system for them. So, and I would say that's a next level of complexity. And task flow, task analysis is even more critical when you're designing a software for someone to do their job. So like a marketing specialist or you as a UX. So you would hope that whoever has designed Collaborate has involved teacher, has involved then how they do their work. And sometimes the little things can make a big difference. So marking, the micro journey of marking, the micro journey of receiving all of your assignments, and the micro journey of how do I mark? How do I go from one assignment to the other assignment? How do I find the same team member? And the marking doesn't do that. So you still have to look at, I have to look at each one individually and then go put a mark as well. This is how bad the system is, right? For something that is this big. Maybe there's a way to do it, I don't know. But maybe I should explore, but I'm lazy. So you need to understand the task so that you're contextual and you're really making as well. So this is where task flow becomes even more handy. And now we're not even talking about I could, everything that I told you, I could do that before we even talk about collaborate. How do, as a teacher, do I do marking? How do I do assignments? Outside of the platform, and then how do we bring that into a platform that collaborate, where it's a lot easier and quicker and simpler for me. You always want to focus on a specific goal. So campaign, create a campaign, donate, place a complaint, buy a show ticket, and then it will inform the step and sequence user will take to achieve that goal. So, and I said, it helps setting expectation of what user would expect to be able to do it outside of a platform. So here's an example of a high-level task analysis of cooking spaghetti. So we're getting close to lunch. That's going to make maybe some of you hungry. If you want to cook spaghetti, there are certain steps that you will follow, and then there's that notion of sub steps. So if you notice here, there's no references to really anything. Your goal is cooking spaghetti. So there's a link to this specific article or task analysis that you can link to. But you're going to go through a series of steps. Fill the spot with water, stove, check water in the pot, add spaghetti to the spot. Then you're going to check the spaghetti in the spot. Then you're going to turn up the stove. Then you're going to drain your spaghetti. So if we want to automate this, then you will need to know the steps and see how do we move, and then how do we automate if we could, right? But then filling the pot with water has a bunch of sub steps. So you could think of making donation is cook spaghetti would be equivalent of making donation. But then we've said Angel started with finding a cause. So we've said find a cause is almost at this step as a step, and then the sub step, a bunch of sub steps as well to find a cause as well, etc. Jeff started with I have a cause, I have United Way. So Jeff started kind of like almost at this step, at this process. But, and then he said, well, I'm going to go to United Way and then look for at this point is already kind of suggesting that you're on the platform somewhere. But you're going to either call, you're going to take your credit card, you're going to give them $100, and then you're going to hope for a receipt, and you're done as well. So you try to stay away from your from any platform at this particular point, and then drain the spaghetti, and your spaghetti is cooked, and then you can eat it. And then they stop at drain the spaghetti, and that's the end of it. That could be your task. And then someone could say, how do I take that, and how do I copy that experience to a mobile app, or how do I copy that experience to a website? Maybe you want to build a website that actually helps people to actually know how to cook spaghetti, and maybe you're going to have a page for this. You're going to have, in this, we could say we're going to have 7 pages, and then there's going to have a continue. You're going to do a wizard. Fill up spots, step number 1, and you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to have finish, end, right? So it's giving you a bit of a sense of how many pages am I dealing with? Am I going to be in the step by step? Maybe I can go back to this step. Maybe I can navigate back. We don't know yet. This may become your user flow. But this is where I start. Every design that I have done, I always start from my task flow. So this is another representation of then how you can do your task flow. This is taken from the Nielsen Group, Jacob Nielsen and Nielsen Group. And you will have to decide on a legend. You will have to decide on how you want to actually illustrate. But they say, user scenario, user wants to make a digital copy of a physical letter using a new home scanner. So here they're saying about making a digital copy of something using a scanner. So they're giving you a task using a technology. So this is why you're obviously going to see technology. But think of your level 0. Or almost like your homepage, level 0, and then you have download the software, launch a scanner, scan, and save the document. But then to download the software, there's sub steps, right, that you may need to do as well. So and then launch a scanner is very straightforward, and then scan the document. How do I scan a document? Then I do it in order. Plan 3, do it in order. Okay. Open the flatbed and place the document, face show, press scan on program. Then you save your document. Bang, you're done. So you almost have a sense of how many screens or how many steps, 4 steps, and maybe you're going to have some sub steps, right, that you need to when you want to do this to follow, and maybe you will have the steps. And maybe you do visual and you're going to be good with the heuristic and you're going to show the system, the visual status, and then you're going to show that this is the step that I'm in, and then you're going to move on. And this, you become more of a user flow. When you start saying continue, 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 now as you start flow, and I could cancel, right? But before you did this, you had to think about the sequence of things that you would follow. You will not scan the document before you start downloading the software, vice versa. You're not going to save the document before you actually scanned it. Like, you have to have, there are orders that are that need to take in a certain sequence. So here's how our flow diagram should look like when submitting. Yes, so your flow, yes. So I'll show you the user flow though. This is a task flow. So for the assignment, you're going to need to show me the user flow. So really what happens on the website. So it will have more details than this, because here we're trying to be more of a linear, like we're trying to, there's not as much details, and you will see the difference. There's not as much details, and it's not really specific about a website. Where the user flow for the task assignment that you have is specific to Ticketmaster, or you will talk about and search result, and then like you're going to be a lot more detailed. You really specific to the website. Here it's specific to a scanner, but it was hard to define the task flow without a technology. But if you think of our example of a spaghetti, it was this is how we do and cook spaghetti in general. But if you wanted to move this to online and explain to someone online, the experience, the final experience, maybe you would need to browse before. Maybe you will have to, maybe you would need to say, search, browse, recipe. Maybe this is a recipe, right? And then you'll have continue, but you don't do this in a task flow. And maybe you'll have save, right, to my wish list. Now you're becoming more of a task flow, but you need to have boxes. It needs to be in a diagram, and this is not in the diagram. So but you'll see, we're gonna get to the task flow, Jeff. Then your task flow, this is the task flow. This is the way you could illustrate your task flow too if you want it. But I would say this is becoming almost like a user flow, because you have decision points. Do I continue? Don't I continue? But you will have to include a legend to explain what maybe this, what this, but as it does here, right? So think of this as a legend for this task flow. So we could say my job of cooking spaghetti, start, cook spaghetti, step number 1, and then decision, how much water do I want to make, or no, how much water, or do I continue, do I stop, do I save? I would say this is almost becoming as closer to user flow. At the end of the day, you're not going to be penalized if you have more information than not enough in the user flow. The user flow has more information than the task flow will have. But you could use this as a legend if you wanted to illustrate your user flow as well. But you have to be consistent. So I would say very similar. When I ask you to do the information architecture, I didn't necessarily ask you to use a very give me the tree. Like some people give me, the tree like this, and that's fine. Some people give me something like this. Some people give me something like this. It's maybe unusual, not as typical, but I understood. You have to be consistent. I need to be able to get a good sense of what the flow is and what the options are. And if you remember, for the task assignments for Ticketmaster or Freshly, the website experience exists. I will go in and I will detail it. I will be able to see what that flow is. So user task flow. This is a task flow. So the task flow for donation. So, but the assignment is we're going to be the user flow. which is the second part of the class. But you still need to have a sense of how someone would go about buying tickets, show tickets, to see if there are gaps of things missing. But that's not part of the assignment. The assignment is just to detail what the user flow is. What is the online experience with buying a Ticketmaster? So you will have more details. But if I were to do a task flow for donation, we've already been talking about. You pick a cause, right? These are the steps that you would follow. You don't talk about web. Pick a cause, decide an amount, call the organization, make a payment, receive, file for tax credit. Now, if you start describing a task flow, which comes before the user flow, before design, and you start saying, go to Nightwood, choose donate, choose the amount, now you're really talking about user flow. You're too detailed. Enter credit card, click on submit. This is like, when you start saying click, choose, go to, you're really describing the user flow at that. To do for your assignment for next week. Okay? So the questions that your task flow is answering is, what goals are they trying to do? What are the steps? How do they go about meeting their goals? How do they go about doing their work? How do they go about doing their job? How do they go? And then usually we do task analysis, not just for design, but see if we can simplify it, if we can make it better for user, if we want to change a specific task to be more effective. A lot of companies will do task flow analysis for that purpose, not because they're designing. They actually want to improve. They want to reduce. They want to cut some steps. They want to short the process, right? Here you want to know what their task is so you can design a good experience. So now we're moving on into the user flow, and that is what you will need to do for the assignment. Is you will need to go to Ticketmaster and you will have to describe and illustrate what the user flow. So the user flow, we've already said, it's detailing out the user flow of a feature, option, or a path. So you're going to detail out the path, the micro journey of buying tickets on Ticketmaster or placing an order on Freshie as well, is really what the assignment will be. It's only done once the task flow are known. So knowing the task, is there something broken? Is there something missing? Or is there something they reverted that you think is not logical and it will throw people off and they'll be very confused? It's a visual representation of user flow in the context of a platform. So we went from the task of creating a marketing campaign to actually now we're saying create a marketing campaign in using the marketing cloud platform. Buy a ticket show, now using Ticketmaster. What is that experience? So a user flow usually will be unique to that experience, to that online experience, or that digital platform. Could a task flow be written step by step as pointers? Yes, you could, but you have to stay away from talking about web on the web or how someone would do on the web. But yes, it can be step by step. And I would start by listing just the step of buying Ticketmaster show if you want, just for you to see if the user flow is actually doing a good job at supporting the task flow of buying tickets on Ticketmaster. So let's say that Ticketmaster does not, but you don't even know what you want to be looking for and watching for, and maybe they're not doing a good job through the browsing experience, and that may be a big challenge, right? Let's say that Ticketmaster does not allow you to put a budget, and they just browse and just give you a search result of shows, the most popular shows, but there's no way for you to go from cheapest then to even reorder. That's going to be a problem, because maybe in your task you see you start from a budget, you start from maybe a specific seating area. I don't know. So it forces you to ask yourself the questions. But yes, you can do understand what the steps that the user will actually go through when they want to buy a show, a ticket show, before you even start designing it, before you start talking about the web specific. But the user flow then talks specifically for Ticketmaster, will talk specifically about the platform, and you will outline all the options that someone can do at that particular point. So, but let's continue. It will make more sense as we go through. It will describe the actual experience the user will go through using the software. So the task flow is software specific, okay? So in the user flow, there's a software element. So marketing platform. And this is where you're going to start seeing click on, go to, visit, save, cancel, submit. abandon, save to favorites, add to cart, checkout, payment, make payment, share, send. You're starting using a vocabulary that is really, really specific to that platform. So, and again, though, it will describe it from a customer perspective. Click on cancel. Okay. This is where you add the most value. What you're gonna find is you're gonna have business analysts, and I don't know if some of you have or worked with, but you may have a business where you're actually gonna work. You're gonna be UX. You're gonna be information architecture, and then they're gonna say, "Oh, we have business analysts. The business analysts will do the flow for you. Don't worry, they're gonna do it for you." I will say, do worry. You should be the one designing the first user flow from a user point of view and not from a system. No one else will. The business analyst typically will do it. They will design it from a system, and they know so much the system that they will actually start from the system. Then they're going to try to retrofit it to a user, and then you're going to look at it. You're going to go, "Oh my God, this is all broken." So, but this is where you need to start from a user, and this has happened to me multiple times, and it has happened to me at Suddenly. We were trying to design the user flow for buying gift certificates. You would think buying gift certificate would be the simplest thing. It's actually, I would say, buying a gift certificate is almost similar to making a donation. Oh my God! Like, I think it took us only 2 months to even just design the user flow, the task flow and the user flow, what the task flow was and what the user flow will be for buying gift certificate at Sunwin, because I was working with business analysts, and there were a lot of people involved, and they were trying to force us into a system and technology constraint that did not make at all sense to the user. And you think that everybody's understand how you design gift certificates, but you'll be surprised that no, not everybody does. And you should really be at front. You should be in front with the user flow and reminding people about the user, the consumer, and what will make sense to the consumer. Then you can work with your business analyst. If your business analyst detail it out and talk about system and what system will be called, that's okay. And really, you should just be aware of what the system will call. But don't start from the system, because your head's going to hurt. Start from the user. Then you can bring in the system when you do user flow. Then you can say, okay, so when I click submit, then the business analyst will say, when I click submit, then there's my payment submit. Then Moneris will be called, and then the credit card information will be sent to Moneris, and then Moneris will send back a response. This is where your heart starts beating, but never lose sight of the user goal, and what the user wants to do. And if that step is actually a logical step in a logical moment to show that particular step, but you will work with the business analyst that will detail and describe more of this from a system, and that's okay. You need them because they need to make sure that it can be supported. Maybe you want to design a donation for United Way, but maybe United Way is not able to give you the option of picking the amount or picking amount outside of a preset amount. So maybe United will say you can only give 10, 20, 50, $100. But then Jeff said, I pick an amount that I want to give, but you may not be able to put $25. And I would say that's okay. But it's a short compromise. But at least Jeff will have thought of the experience in the sequence. And then the business analyst will be able to tell you what you can and what you cannot do. But you should come forward first with what the user flow and the task in the user flow should be, what you think should be for buying Ticketmaster. And then you come in front of a team and say, this is the recommendation. And then you can start then adapting to what you can and what you cannot do. But you always have to be mindful of the user and not lose sight of the user. Your business objective, what you're trying to do, your user, you've done the IA, you've done the bubble, you've done the cart sorting, you've sat with the user. They may actually say, no, we don't want to call this donation. It has to be called something. They're actually sometimes going to put like the name of the system for donate. They're going to call it something. They're going to call it, I don't know, they use the system Miro. And then you look at the flow, and then it says call Miro, and then submit Moneris, and you go, what is this? This is what we mean by consumer, from the consumer point of view. You're never going to show Miro. You're never going to tell the consumer Moneris. You're never going to tell to the consumer that there's a token validation being done. So when we say written by the consumer, is you writing it as if that you're the consumer sitting in front of it, and then he has these options that he needs to be presented. And then you will work with your business analyst and your technology of how and which system is called and what happens in this care of. He just wants to get his tickets home safe or pick the ticket at the booth. So this is an example of a user flow. So I don't know, but the user flow looks a little bit more like a system architecture or a system, but you still want to be close to the language that the consumer will see. So here is just a very specific example of a user flow. It has more detail, and it's using the language that somehow you would probably find on the website for placing an order. So here you're placing an order, right? So you're placing an order, and then you have to include all the steps and everything that we do. This is one way to illustrate it. But by all means, when I look at this, I find it a bit confusing, okay? So I would say this is probably not the example that I want to use because I'm not really sure as a user, where do I start and where do I finish? So you can do better than this. When you illustrate your Ticketmaster, and we're going to look at Ticketmaster, we're going to try to, I'm going to try to give you some hints. But you need to make sure that you have all the things that are possible for a user to do illustrated. And then you'll have to pick, what is a square a page? Is a square a page? Is a triangle a decision point, as we've seen in here too? So you can use this legend for your user flow if you want for Ticketmaster. That's okay too, okay? So at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that your Ticketmaster or your Freshly is illustrating what user will see and what user can do. You pick how you want to do it, but it has to be clear for me that I know that you understood how you will illustrate and you'll consist. But you will own the doing the diagram for user flow. You will own bringing the information about task analysis to the team so that they understand how user actually do donation in real life, so that we can design the best experience. But there's no one way of doing user flow. And again, it's like UI, your information architecture. There's not one way of illustrating your information architecture, but you need to understand the choices. You just need to understand the legend, pick a legend, and be consistent. And then think of me as maybe I'm a new customer, look at it as a new customer. So I will look at you at your flow as this is the first flow that I have seen, that I have looked at. It has to be clear for me that you did not miss any step and you went through the level of details so that I can read the flow and get a good sense of what the experience is on Ticketmaster if I buy a ticket or when I'm a Freshly and I place an order as well. And then I should be able to look at the flow and say, okay, great. This is the page. Now I make a decision. I can go left. I can go right. If I continue, then I put my credit card. If I continue, then I'm actually have my order is placed. I get my ticket by email. Do I want my ticket by? So these are decision points, right? But what I would start doing if I were you is I would actually go to Ticketmaster and list. Don't worry about boxes yet. List what you see. Shop, browse. So we're going to look at it. You would start listing, and then have a list of all the steps and the sequence that you see as a user when you go to Ticketmaster or Freshly. Then you can decide of how you illustrate and what your legend will be and what your choice of boxes will be as well. That's how I would do this. So you're lucky. We're giving you a flow that exists, and we're saying, can you go and put a diagram to illustrate what? You can look at this and go, get a good sense of what the experience is. Then I'm going to go to Ticketmaster and see if that is actually the experience that I've understood that you show me that I see when I go to Ticketmaster, for example. But it's up to you to pick a diagram. And then if you want to do your diagram sketches, I'm all good. If you want to do wireframing or Visio or Adobe XD, I'm all good too. As long as I see that you have a flow, that makes sense. That is the end of flow and user flow and tasks. So for the assignment, it's the actual user flow of on the website. I have almost no choice to talk about, do they say browse, do they say search, do they say filter, and then you can use the labels that they use using boxes or squares or triangle or diamonds to show decision points to the point that someone actually puts an order, and then perhaps show the options that they have for delivery. If you choose Ticketmaster or if you choose Freshly, it's really up to you. That is really the assignment. So are there any questions about time? So in this one here, you could very well say, you could label, right? 1, 2, because I get a feel that this is maybe the sequence, the last page catalog, search for an item, order forms. But you see, like I find this diagram actually is hard to read. It's one example of how they've done, but this is my order form, send an order. So shop from home, I can list catalog, then I come back, search them. Like I would say I would probably try to stick to a sequence. That is a sequence. This is not really in a sequence. So if I were to do a critique for this, it's really difficult to see where it starts, where it begins, where it stops, and where it ends. My order is here, shop from home, order form. I would really design it from a consumer point of view so that I can clearly understand that this is the flow that the user would see as well. So you pick how you want to do it, and let's see for the assignment. So I'm just going to share the screen for the assignment. The lines have to be, if they overlap, I need to understand where they go. So I'm not sure if that is your definition of overlap and shawl, but I need to make sure that I understand where things are going. So if you have a line, I need to understand that it's pointing to something. And so I would say in the example that we had, so let's look back at the flow. Yeah, I would use arrows. It's at least I have a sense of this last, if I say, obviously shopping home, I can search for an item. I can see that I can go from here to here. I mean, lines are crossing, right? But I think this is hard to avoid. But I can see that I can go from last catalog page to the first catalog page. So I have navigation offered, right? There's this I read almost as pagination, and I can see that I go. So it sounds like this is shopping from home, but let's try to make sense of this diagram as a team. So I go. This is obviously I'm going to a website, and the first thing I go homepage. I'm shopping from homepage, and you can all start from shopping from homepage for Ticketmaster. I'm going from shopping homepage. It sounds like I can actually even go order form directly if I wanted, and then I don't know. This is almost like donation. Do you follow it? Then I can go shopping home and I can list that list. I can look for a list of catalog. Then I can see a list of catalog. I can search from here or I can search from here. So this is your browsing, you're searching, and then catalog homepage. Then I have an index. Then I can browse. I can first catalog page. I can see my first catalog page that probably has an item, specific item that I can pick, right? I can click, and then I can see my last catalog page. But my catalog then has items on it. This is where I'm not really clear on this. My catalog has items that I can pick and I can order. I don't know. I don't really know what happens with this. Then how do I order from this catalog page? There's nothing that says I can order. Can I order here? So I see this graph doesn't do a super good job. Like order. And why is there no arrow here, right? Why is there no arrow that I can go to my order? So I would almost move the order to like in this area. Yeah, so you see, I'm going to do just this when you guys do your assignment. I would almost move order here, right? And then instead, I would not have it here. I would have an arrow that would go to here, order. And then I can see this, right? So I can go home for order, or I can go here for order, and then submit order. It's, yes, you have to make a choice at some point. But I hear what I would say. So think of it. If you were, I don't know where I am, exactly. I don't know where I am and I don't know what I can do. Test it. Maybe you want to show your flow to a friend, to your partner, or your colleagues, or someone. Do you understand from diagram? So test your flow with a friend of yours as well, and say, explain to me what this flow is. You know what the flow is. It's buying Ticketmaster. I keep saying Ticketmaster, but make your point, make your starting point the homepage. The chances are I can browse, I can search, or I can see top shows, right? You can pick any show. So we're going to go through the 10. Exactly. First thing I look for in a map. So but here though, the assignment is we're not criticizing what Ticketmaster has done. We're not telling Ticketmaster this is what they should do. Okay. So you're going to describe in a diagram what Ticketmaster flow, the experiences for Ticketmaster of someone who wants to buy a ticket. But you see how this diagram is not 100% clear? There are good diagrams. So it's not 100% clear. So you need to make sure that when I look at your diagram, I actually understand this step. So be your own judge, but ask someone else to review it if you want. And then say, explain to me what that flow is. Then you listen, then you can make changes. So when it comes to me, it'll be perfect. I should have a very good feel of what the experiment is. So let's go through the detail of that assignment. So it's due Wednesday, March 3rd, and then you can do a sketch if you want, but start with words. Start listing the words that you see on Ticketmaster. We're gonna go to Ticketmaster, but you're gonna start with words. So this is individual project. So you can order a meal. You have two websites. You can pick Freshie, so you can order a meal on Freshie, or you can buy a Justin Bieber ticket to see a show from Ticketmaster, and it's desktop only. So only do it from desktop. Choose any show in the summer for Justin, or choose a place an order on Freshie. So start listing, just listing what you see. Make sure you have all your stats, all the options that the user can do, and focus on that page, right? At that moment. And then you can move on to diagram and how you show and how the arrows. But if it means using more arrows and overlapping arrows, and if it means that it's actually going to make sense to me, and that's fine. I just need to make sure that I see your flow and decision points and what user can do on any of the screen up to the point that they actually click on order as well. So my collaborator is frozen. Which I don't know why, because I don't think this is the end, but I'm good. I'm back now. Okay, so let's just look at fresh. The way you could do if I were you, and that's really the assignment. There's really nothing else to the assignment other than that, and that's 25%. So I think everybody can do very good. If you show it to your friend and it's easy for them, then hopefully it will be easy for me too. So you have to look at their flow on their current website and then document their flow for placing an order on Freshie or buying a Ticketmaster on Justin Bieber Ticketmaster. You have to document in the detail. They're documenting the current state only. You're not redesigning. So I will be paying attention. So make sure you pay attention to the evaluation criteria. But I will be paying attention to, let me share the screen. The flow diagram is clear and straightforward. If I have a hard time to understand the diagram, you're going to lose marks. That's the thing that I'm very interested in. Also, the flow diagram is logical and matches the product. So what you show me in the diagram has to match. I would say try to stay as close as possible in the sequence that the user actually go through. If it means a long diagram, that's okay too. But I mean, I don't want to have 10 pages. I don't think you'll need 10 pages of the diagram, but maybe you do. I don't know. But try to see where it can be condensed as well, but it makes sense, right? The flow diagram is comprehensive, so I need to make sure that all options are there. There's nothing missing. Use of shape is consistent. You can use any shape that you want. And appropriate. I mean, try to use the shapes that I gave you for the task flow, like the page, the square, the start, decision point if you want, buttons. If there's a way to use a button that you want to show me a button, that's okay too. But you have to be consistent. But give me a legend. Clearly marked legend, professionalism in communication of concept, and attention to details. So I need to options are for the consumer and assume that this is something you would do for your client. So no errors, clean, professional will do good in terms of marking. So it's 35 total points, but it's a 25% of your weighted final mark. So let's look at Freshie. So if you really want to keep it very simple, let me just go and share with you. So it's relatively easy because it's an existing flow. So you can start from the home page. So I'm on Freshie. I want to place an order. So for those of you, I don't know if you know Freshie, but it's a grocery store, right? So I can just buy, I don't really shop at Freshie, but menu, salad, Freshie, salad, wrap. So it's not a grocery store. They do sandwiches. Yeah, there's one or not too far from me. So you can buy a bunch of things. So you want to place an order. I'm not even saying, I'm not telling you what the order is and what you want to place. But maybe you're going to browse. You can browse, you're going to say browse menus. Maybe I can browse menus. And if you want to go as far as detail and say breakfast salad, you can. But as long as I can read it, right? But you want to order now. And I would say you want to order online. But you would probably want to start with the order experience. So start with the order experience and try to go through the order experience. So you go home and then you will have something that will say order now. Don't worry about cart. Don't worry about signing and logging yet. But okay, great. I want to order now. New place, down horizon, order now. Well, I've already said I want to order now. But what are my other options? Then, and this is the thing with user flow. It will show you how things are broken. Why do I have twice? Donate, order. So why not just take me directly to order? But can I order online? Favorite, open now, online. Okay, so then you would have a flow, right? Actually, you probably want to go with the hierarchy. Pickup. Do I want to do pickup? Do I want to do delivery? So but at this point, just put words. Just type words, the words. Or if it's easy for you to illustrate, you can also start illustrating if you want, right? Then I would really go with the most obvious flow. Yes, you have a decision point of pickup and delivery if you want. If you want to say this is a decision point for me, then I do decision point. Okay. But start with the most likely or the most obvious. Don't start to do all the exception at the beginning. Then you can see, then what is the path of delivery? Then what do I have? Jeff, you said on the map, but I want to do delivery. So where am I going to delivery? So what can I do at this point? Enter address. Then I put my postal code. Then I get a bunch of enter new address, 1901. Okay, so now you guys, some of you will know where I live. Toronto, 1901. Okay, so I would have something that will tell me enter address. And then is there something very specifically about enter address? I can enter anything, right? If you want to be very detailed and explain how you can what you can enter and not enter, that's okay. And then what is being presented, that's okay too. If I do, let's say 285 mutual, Well, I'm presented with an address, but I can do this. So you can be detailed and say, type in postal code, type in address, and then presented with, I would say that's probably overdone. Okay, between you and I, it would probably be too specific for me. And then I can put my address, but I already put. Okay, great. I can put a lot of things here, but you could probably say address, or if all these, but I can put delivery notes as well. I can put my phone number, mark this location. So I can do home. Yeah, this is home. I can mark my location. They're forcing me a telephone number. What else? The most typical path, deliver here. Then they pick a time. So these are like, I would put words. Initially, I would put words. Today, I want it at 2 p.m. And okay. So go through your most typical, type in data and display. Then what do I see? Menu from 1892 King Street. Okay, limited time, limited offer. So if you notice, I have to give them an address before I can actually even start browsing or searching. But I went through order now. And the order now, this flow almost resemble the example that I was sharing with you earlier that I said, I think it's not a perfect example because you can go order now directly, but then there's all these other consequences. But I can go on and on. You could say, do limited time, I can browse salads, right? I can browse bowls. You could say that you can browse all these items if you want to. Then I can see items, and then I can pick an item. So, but I would go through that one path, and then I would go deeper, add to bag. No, then they give me something to do. As I don't have special instruction, checkout. I want my go through this entire experience and document this. This is long. This is going to be a long process. So yeah, there will be multiple pages to this. Then I can say this is my typical flow. Then I can say I'm done with this flow, and hopefully this is probably the most complex. Now I could, if I want to place an order, maybe I don't do an order now. Maybe I actually go and I browse. I start browsing, order place. But it looks like the same path for all of them. I'm really just exploring with you. This site, I've never ordered in this site. Okay, so it's funneling me through one path. I can also pick a location that I want to order from. Oh, okay, so there's one at College Park, freshly coming soon, fresh and church. Okay, so this one, you see the one closest to me is closed. So there's going to be a lot of details for that one specific, but then you would need to look, is there another way or another path to order? And I think there isn't, but if there is one, another way of placing an order, then you would need to describe it. But I just need the website. I don't need the mobile app, right? I think this is the only path that I can actually place an order, but this is online. I want delivery, not pickup. If I want to do pickup, then you'll have to show me the pickup. Then the online, delivery. You see, what I don't understand is delivery and then, okay. My favorite, my open now or online. I don't know what that is, but you will have to illustrate this, the pickup. So we have delivery and then the pickup. And then what is the pickup? The pickup also has favorite, open now or online, which I don't really understand what that is. And you see, this is where now we re-engineering because we're going from a process existing, but the task, I don't even know how this is matching the user task. I actually don't understand that delivery, pickup. What is online pickup? Open now or favorite? What is online pickup? Does anybody know what that is? Like that to me is a side. I don't even know if they understand the user task. We're asking user to make a choice. I don't know what the answer is, or maybe it's just me. but this reveals this, right? But we would have start from the user task and say, Freshie, this is how you should design your experience. But they've designed, and I don't even know how it maps to a user goal. I don't know that this is mapping a user's sequence. It makes sense to user. Pickup, open now. Well, I should only be able to go to pickup that is open now. I have a feeling they have this online option because people are not. I don't know. I don't know what that option is. So that is a task. Maybe order on. But yeah, but I know pick up later. Yes, you see all the we don't know all these questions. This is bad experience. But we're not here to critique. But you need to detail this experience and then stick to that one main flow. But then at some point, you can show that you have an option to log in as well. But that when I was placing the order, that they actually even tried to get me to probably log in or not. But the more detail that you can put that you see through this journey into your assignment, then the happier I will be. But it has to all make sense to me. I can follow. So make sure that you follow a structure that will be easier for me to understand. I don't want to feel that I'm lost. If I'm lost in too much details, then this is where I start going negative in marking. Less is more sometimes so that it's clear. If you ask to add to more detail that I'm confused, then I would say that's going to be to your disadvantage. Find a balance between enough details, not too much detail, so that it's clear and I can follow the user flow so that I know that you've been through. So this would be Freshie. Now, if you were to do Ticketmaster, so I said by Ticketmaster, start from the home page. Okay, and I said buy a Ticketmaster for Justin Bieber. I've already given you something. So how would you go about finding the Ticketmaster for just design that flow? I may go search, right? So you would probably gonna say Ticketmaster search, Ticketmaster browse. How do I browse? Concerts. Then I can browse, and then I hope that I can see Justin Bieber in. I said in the summer. So maybe I can pick a date. I can say arrange to July or August. Apply. It looks like there's no more Justin Bieber. So if Justin Bieber is no longer Bieber, that shows how much of a fan I am or how much I know him. Okay, he was in Toronto. There were tickets for him. Okay, so we see July. So then I get a search results, then I can pick a date, and then I can see tickets. So all of these, but I would start going by start listing, go through the experience, the most typical flow of the experience, and there's a lot happening on Ticketmaster that I can do. Okay, but try to think typically what a typical user would want. So you can say, I'm assuming 2 tickets. If you want to make assumption in your diagram, you can make assumption if it's easier for you. I'm okay with, I said, I don't know if I didn't give a price range. But I may say, you know what, this road in maximum, where is it? Then I'm going to look for, I can look on the map for availability, right? Or a specific section. Maybe I want to be close, but I can already see a price. So that's pretty good. But you will need to find a way to detail that. So I can look on the map, Jeff would like that, or I can look on the list. But if I don't know where, oh, this is good though, it's actually showing me where the location is, then maybe I'm okay. Maybe I just want to go 102, but that's expensive. What happens when I click on 102? Oh, I can really see even that. So it's really, really giving you more options. I can see my section people, and then I can pick that. I can pick that. So here I would say select seat, select section, select seat, right? So I've selected section by rolloving. I've selected seat, then I go next. then I'm probably going into a checkout process at that particular moment. Select the country. So you will show, select country, I'm in Canada, select how you would like to receive your ticket, how do you want to receive your ticket. So you see, if we would have started before going to Ticketmaster and say, what do we think the experience should be for someone who wants to buy a ticket? So far, it's kind of similar to what we would have probably seen as a task. I can browse, I can search, I have a price, there are two people. I'm probably going to want to see a section, I'm going to pick a section, but think of, I'm not on the website, right? So I have a price, I look for Justin Bieber, I have dates, I'm going to look for dates, I'm going to look at options of seats, and I don't need to talk about the web experience when I say this. And then I'm going to pick a seat. I'm going to pick one or two seats that I like. I like the location. Then I'm gonna pay. I'm either gonna call Ticketmaster or I'm probably gonna call them, or I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna pay, and then I'm gonna decide how I want to pick my tickets. Do I want to mail, email, e-tickets, events, Eventbrite? And then I'm gonna print, or maybe just put as a wallet, and then show up to the concert, or show up to the concert and pick up at a booth. I could have described all of this outside of Ticketmaster. Then I go in Ticketmaster and see how they've done and if there are gaps. So you're not doing all of this. But so far, I feel like they're pretty aligned with my task versus a freshie. Then I can call. They say I can call. I don't know why I would call, but I can call, which is really great. Then I can see my tickets, and then I can do my checkout, right? At this point, now I'm going through the user flow, and then I can do my. It's opened a new window, so you're not seeing. This is annoying. It's forcing me to log in. That I hate, and that's really, really bad. This is really, really bad. This I would have not put on my task, obviously, because I wasn't aware. But I do know that a lot of people are upset with having to log in. Absolutely annoying. Okay, so and then I go on, but you will need to detail this. So this is the assignment. So I know it's a lot of small details, but make sure that whatever you provide to me makes sense. If you need to show it to a friend, please show it to a friend. And then show the options and go through the most typical, and then you can put in the exceptions of what someone may want to do. But focus on ordering, freshly ordering Ticketmaster. That's the assignment, and you will need to know, definitely at a minimum, when you design, a sense of the task that user follow, and then you take that knowledge and you design the experiences like Ticketmaster. I would say Ticketmaster seems aligned with the task versus Reshi. The delivery and online when I go store pickup and I see online really confuses me. So I felt there's a mismatch between the mental model or expectation and then how they've delivered the experience. So if you didn't think that information architecture will teach you to think about user task and user flow, then the good news is now you have one more set of things to think about for better experiences. And nowadays, you cannot just be designing IEs and not think about a flow and what the user flow will be, because it's all connected, right? So tomorrow we have lab time. That is a topic for user flow, task and user flows. All the material. Can you imagine? 6 weeks, we've covered all of the material. So that means there's no more new material between now and the end of the module of this class. I mean, good news, bad news, I don't know. Perhaps you wanted to learn even more. But that says, it doesn't mean that we can't talk about more topics if we want. But you're going to be very busy between now and the end. So tomorrow we're going to tomorrow is going to be your time. So you can come, you don't have to come. And I would say you don't have to come tomorrow. On Tuesday, same as well. But I would say that you definitely need tomorrow. I would like to maybe talk about the project. I will be recording the session. But I like to talk about the project. There's 2 weeks left. You have a big project. It's going to be occupying a lot of your time. I would say if you can get user flow out of the way, and then focus on roots on your teams. You may have to divide up the works on roots, but it's probably hard to do things in parallel. There's going to be a lot of work between now, but there's no more new material, so the time is there for you to use to your best advantage for working as teams on the assignments. The assignment is individual, so user flow is individual. I would say get it out of the way and really focus on the project between now and the end of the class. There's not going to be new material. So next week we're going to be it's going to be time allocated to working on the big projects as well. And I'll be available and I'll be there to support. Next week is our last week. Yes, so the last delivery date is March 10th because we have to give the grades. So the March 10th is the final date assignment for Roots, the Roots project. And then you have the reading week is the week of the following week, the week of March 8th, I think. So that's the reading week. So yeah, the reading week is Monday, March 8th is the reading week. So the assignment is due on March 10th. Final date is March 10th. Okay, the detailed descriptions of the project, it's a long PDF. So I invite you to read it. Tomorrow we're going to go through the details, but you have to do cart sorting. You have to do everything that we've done in this class. For Roots Canada, you're going to have to do cart sorting, the same amount of cart sorting, I believe, than what you did with people that are outside of the class and outside of the program, I believe, as well. So you need to find people that fit the profile of Roots, people that are shopper for Roots. I give you user information. So please do me a favor. Go through the details tomorrow. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about the project tomorrow. And this is it. So we have, I think, 3 minutes. This is not the end. We're still going to be together, but this is the last really lesson that we had together. So this is not a au revoir, but it's almost the end for information architecture. It is a lot of material, and I would say you are fortunate to have a class to teach you about information architecture and user and task and flow and cart sorting the way you did it. I had to learn it on myself, on my own, because there wasn't really a program back 20 years ago. So I wish I've had this opportunity. So I hope you enjoyed. And we're not finished yet, but this is the end of the content, so it's always a sad moment. But I hope you'll have a good afternoon. We have 2 minutes left spare on your schedule. Are there any questions or anything about anything that we've talked about today? Okay, I look forward to the NAV assignment, seeing this assignment for NAV for Zoo. And if you would like to see what other teams have done when it comes to Zoo for the IA, then, and if the teams are open, we could share. We could have teams to maybe share and take a few minutes next week at some point to show what others have come up with. I think you guys would like to see how some things are different, some things are very similar. So enjoy your afternoon, and thank you for all coming, and we'll see you tomorrow. Great. So Nelly, I can be here if you want. But I have at 10:30. I have very short amount of.
Yeah, it was just that we couldn't find the comments that you referred to. I mean, we saw the.
I know. I saw Lillian's email. I find it very, very strange. I have to go back. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the kind notes. I have to go back and see why. Because now, did you send me a link to Miro, or it was a PDF?
We sent you an email. I mean, a link to Miro, and we actually saw some comments, but in the previous assignments, but not in this last one.
Yeah, let me take a double check. Okay, I will take a look. I don't know what happened, but yes, and I will let you know what had happened. And then if I have to put the comments back, then I'll put the comments back.
Yeah, I mean, we read the general comments in Blackboard, but
Yeah.
there you mentioned that you have more specific comments, and those are the ones we couldn't find. But yeah.
Then I met the more specific comments will be the ones in Miro.
Yeah, we opened Miro and there were no comments for that assignment.
Double check.
Okay.
I will respond back on the course message. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.